Dermot, where are you? What number are you at, Dermot? 9. A 9. What number did you start today at? 7.5. A 7.5. Can we have a round of applause for Dermot? You started at 7.5. What brought you from a 7.5 to a 9?
Just the people around me.
The people around you. Does that make sense to anybody?
Yeah.
You know, you wake up some mornings and it just doesn't feel like a 10. And then you get a couple of hugs. Little Bernie there, give him a lovely hug. So we've got a couple of brief stories. Now we have to hold the mic very close to our mouths, Darryl, when we're talking to Joe. So we've got this rehearsed, don't we? And the rehearsal was that I do a Q&A with Darryl, and Joe would talk by himself. And can we shift around a little bit? Can we do it slightly differently? Okay, good. So Joe, you got involved Cycling Against Suicide 2013. Could you just set the scene of how you got involved day one?
How or why I got involved in day one, knowing nothing about Cycling Against Suicide, I had received a call asking me would I speak at an event because I'm very, very shy of don't like public speaking. The reason I got the call was 3 years previous, Katrina and I had lost our son to suicide, and Fergus was just 16 years of age. And I suppose for that reason they wanted a family perspective on it. But actually now Jim didn't have the mic, I'll get back to you shortly. But when Jim changes something around, it's a bit like life, you never know what to expect. But we got involved, we were talking and telling our story about Fergus taking his life and how it affected us as a family. And the more I stayed involved with Cycling Against Suicide, the more I learned that it became more than just about one person. It became about everybody, or as such, about the family. And it became more, not necessarily about those who we had lost, but those who were still struggling and those who were bereaved by suicide. And one of the things that is utmost important to me at this moment in time is all the families who are across the country who are struggling with family members who have mental health issues, who are self-harming, who are feeling suicidal. And they're the people that we're trying to reach out to. And as we were driving behind the peloton coming up here, I was going through my mind, why are we cycling on the road? And it's those families, just coming and going. Can you hear me this way? Yeah. Right. I didn't like to shout. But really, the important thing was that as we're cycling on the road, or as you're wearing your orange jersey, or maybe you're talking in a pub or in a restaurant to people, and you mentioned Cycling Against Suicide, and you mentioned that you're joining them or you're going to an event, that message, or our message, is beginning to trickle throughout society. And eventually we will reach the kitchen table where those families are struggling. And the message will give them hope that there is help out there. And quite often with members of our group, Cycling Against Suicide, people come to us and they ask us where can we go for help. And we direct them to organisations in our communities. We have a most so sanitary at the moment down here at the back. And in each community throughout the country, there are these organisations along with the health service who are providing the help. And what we're trying to do is to create that piece of awareness so we can signpost them on to where the help is. But the end result is I started with talking about Fergus, talking about our family. And that doesn't go away. Katrina will tell you that there's days when we have our bad days. And we get up and there are the tears and there are questions. But by the end of the day, by talking to each other, and we're not the ideal family. We're not necessarily the ideal couple, although she thinks I'm great. What we do is we do talk to each other. It might be a row, but we still talk to each other. We still express it. And we start getting that out. If each and every one of us start getting that message out, that we start telling and asking and talking about what's going on inside of us,
We'll begin to break down the stigma about mental health. We'll begin to reduce the number of suicides in Ireland. But we'll begin to help those families who are still struggling. And by you cycling today, that's what you're doing. Fergus died in 2010. Since Fergus passed away on the 22nd of November 2010, we have lost in this country, in the Republic alone, almost 4,000 more lives. That's 4,000 more families. And if that doesn't stop, I want to lose another 4,000, another 4,000, another 4,000. And I'm not blaming anybody, I don't blame the services, the politicians, families or anybody else. This is nobody's fault. It's something that's occurring in our society. And we have to stand up and we have to start doing something about it. And the encouragement we get from the spin-off here in Trim and the spin-offs we've seen all over the country and from the main cycle is that people are joining us, they're cycling with us, and those who can't cycle are supporting us. We had a parade in Gorey the other day. We had 3 bicycles at it. We had 60 people walking with us. We had people pushing buggies. It's a family unit that's tackling this problem. And with your help, we will reduce the number of suicides and it will make our task, the job that we're doing, worthwhile. Thank you.
So Joe joined the cycle in 2013, and he had a very, Joe and Katrina had a very specific reason for taking part in cycling against suicide. No idea where it was going to go, but had a very specific reason for taking part. Darren, you joined the cycle last year, and I'm going to say some things here that might put you a bit uncomfortable, sure. So Darrell is a member of PSNI Northern Ireland, and when he took part in the cycle last year, one decision he made was he wasn't going to tell people where he worked. And so when people asked him, which you know what it is, we don't ask people much like what do you do for a living or where do you work. We don't ask that question much. But if anybody hinted at it, Darrell just said he was working in the security services, but didn't expand on it any more than that. But when you took part in the cycle, Darren, last year, will you tell me why you thought you took part in it, and then the day you realised there was another reason?
Yeah, I had my reasons for joining, but I had thought that if anyone asked me during the cycle, as you find that people do, I was going to say that I enjoy cycling. It's a great way to see Ireland, and it's a great charity. It's a great reason. But whilst all of those were true, it wasn't the reason why I was there. It wasn't the reason why I had decided to join the cycle. And it was really after the third day that I realised that, I suppose for the first couple of days, I was still keen on keeping it to myself. But it was after the third day really, and it was, I mean, we can all see the spectacle of this, but it was starting to feel it. It was feeling, the love and the energy, the commitment and everything that started with Jim and all of the Cycle Against Suicide team, and it spread out to all of the rest of us that are taking part. And as Joe has said, hopefully into your homes and further afield after that. But it was on the third day in Enniskillen, when Jim shared 9 words with us, that I realised that I was probably going to end up at some stage sharing my story. And those 9 words are: show you care, ask the question, make the call. And as I say, those 9 words really rang true to my own situation. I have been blessed with having 3 lovely kids, 3 kids who have grown up very happy. And all of that was grand until the 1st of April 2011, when my youngest girl Lucy, who is now 18, in fact she was 18 just last week, which was 13 at the time, and she witnessed something pretty traumatic. She witnessed someone who had just been murdered. A young police officer had grown in care, had just got into his car and was blown up by another car booby trap onto the car, and unfortunately Lucy was travelling along that road along with her granny. Now, I don't need to tell you what that scene might have looked like, other than to say that Lucy seen things that day that no human being should see, never mind a 13-year-old girl. We went through, I suppose, a period of time after that, the following days and into the weeks, where Lucy was, well, not sleeping, suffering a bit at home. You can imagine waking up in the morning. It didn't matter what time of the morning I got up, but I was always going to find Lucy on the stairs, sitting on the stairs, not wanting to go down until I went out, checked under the cars, promised her that everything was okay and that the same thing wasn't going to happen to us. But, well, the weeks turned into months. The months turned into a year and a half, and over that period of time, we thought Lucy was getting better. We thought she was fine. And the changes that we, I suppose, afterwards that I knew that we could see, we put down to it being a young girl with her, I suppose, the things that were important to her changing. Lucy had always played soccer, she had loved hockey, but she drifted away from all of these things. She became a lot quieter, spent more time in her room, but again, we were asking her if everything was alright, but just in that sort of throwaway way that we tend to do, how are you today, is everything alright? And we were getting the general answers, and everything was fine until about 18 months after that incident. And Lucy and I were in the car together, and we were travelling past, we were heading to her granny's, and driving past where Ronan had been murdered. And again, just by chance, we travelled on a regular basis, but I just happened on that day to ask Lucy. And I'll never forget my words that I said to her, simply because of the answer I got. And I said to Lucy, I said, do you ever think of the day that poor Ronan was murdered? And even though I was looking out of the front of the car, I knew that Lucy had turned to face me. And she said, Dad, I think about him every day. And yeah, I realised then that, that she was still suffering, and suffering on a daily basis. But, well, there's where the 9 words come in. The showing you care bit. It's easy. It's easy for a parent. It's easy for me, because I've got 3 great kids, and well, we show it hopefully on a daily basis. But I asked Lucy the question, and not just in that throwaway sort of a method, but I asked her, are you okay? And she said, no, Dad, I'm not. So that was a Saturday. On the Monday morning, I made the call and got Lucy the help that she needed. And thankfully, we're now a couple of years down the road from that since. And I suppose there's that song about you don't know what you've got until it's gone. Well, it was almost the other way around for me, because I didn't realise what was missing until I seen it again, and that was Lucy's smile. And to see that returning again was absolutely the best thing. It really was. So that was my reason, and yeah, I shared it at the end of that 3rd day, and eventually got around to sharing it with Jim, and yeah, I eventually shared it with, well, 300 or 400 people that same afternoon. So, yeah, that's my
So I guess just to say, it's the last spin-off before the main cycle, and in my head for the last few days, just getting my head into today and thinking about the 14 days that are ahead of us, because this 14 days we have, Tricia and Paul and Doreen and Barry and Noel, all the people who are full on, Andrew, are full on to the logistics of the cycle. We have to remember that this 14 days is a gift. It's a special gift. It's a gift of a series of events, a series of experiences that we get to bring around the island of Ireland. But we don't know necessarily what's going to happen. And our job, I guess, all of us are going to be part of the 14 days, any part of it, is for us to remember that it might be something very explicit and very specific, like, Joe and Katrina's loss of Fergus, or it might be something that's subterranean, below the surface, that doesn't make sense until afterwards. Angeline is here today, as is Emma Dempsey, and Angeline and Emma work to organise for me to go around and visit schools. So far this year, there's 14,000 students that we've met with. And when you go to school, one of the last things I say in schools is, I feel very strongly that there's a reason that we're here today, and you could have 800 sets of eyes, or 400 sets of eyes, or 1,200 sets of eyes looking at you. And we finished the survey saying, there's a reason we're here today, and part of that reason is we, to each other, can show we care, can't we? And the students go, like a mass, at a Tuesday evening mass, they go, and then I say, but can we ask the question? And they go, yes. And I go, really though, because that means you have to ask the question, are you considering, to ask the question of your best friend, are you thinking of self-harming? Are you depressed? Are you battling anxiety? When somebody says to you, not so bad, are you prepared to ask them again? Are you prepared just to take the second to look into their eyes? Are you prepared to ask somebody who might have told you that morning to piss off because they were pissed off with you at the kitchen table or for whatever else you did? Because probably the reason they told you to piss off that morning is because they're hurting. There's other stuff going on. Are you prepared to ask the question of that person? And they go, yes. Not quite as loud, but they begin to understand. And I say, and if one of your friends told you that they were struggling with eating, or they were struggling with thoughts, or they were struggling with exams, or, and I say this to the lads here, because I can only talk as a lad, but it's really tough for guys when we have relationship breakups. And just a conversation for the girls here, we never talk to you about this, because you don't get it fully. I was talking to somebody on the cycle this morning, and he said, do you know the worst part, Jim? I said, what's the worst part? He said, the worst part of a breakup is 2 or 3 weeks later, when you realize what you've lost. I go, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it's like. So again, are we prepared to ask the question? And then finally, as Darrell said, are we prepared to make the call? So when Lucy said, Dad, I think about him every day, the conversation can't finish there. It's got to be, okay, Lucy, darling, let's go see what help we can give, because I want to see that smile back. So, show you care, ask the question, make the call. I'm going to give the last word here to Joe Dixon, because he's been trigger happy for the last few minutes, wanting to get hold of the mic. And by the way, Joe, it gets dark around 7 o'clock, so just saying.
You see, typical Wexford man, I never miss an opportunity. Now what I want to ask you, each and every one of you here, and don't mind the reply that you get to Jen, that mute reply. I want to know, do you care?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, then I want to ask you a question. And I want to ask each and every one of you this question. Are you going to join us at some stage on the 14 days of the cycle?
Yes.
Right? But would you ever get on and make the bloody call, so we have you there, because we're looking forward to meeting you on that.